tell you a few things. Most people here, I think, are members of the Political Studies Association. We do have 2 panels on here. We've got one tomorrow morning at 10:15, which is in Hilton 5F, and one on Saturday at 4:15, which is in Hilton 4C. We'll be delighted to see people at those panels. And then on Saturday morning, Professor Neil Collins, who's here in the pink, will be at the PSA stand, which is number 822, in the exhibition, speaking about political insight. There's some copies of political insights knocking about. My role tonight is representing the Political Studies Association of the UK, and in particular our absent chair, Charlie Jeffrey, because we are making an award to Professor Carole Pateman, who is here in special recognition of her contribution to political studies, political science, across the globe. And I met her yesterday and I said, I'm going to make you blush. I'm not sure if I am going to make you blush. But when you read through Carole's biography, it is really quite extraordinary, the contribution that she's made. I mean, there are lots of people in this room that have made important contributions to political science, and I can see some of them looking expectantly at me. But I don't think anyone, when you read what Carole's done, I don't think there are very many people who have done it in so many different places and in such a way. I think a lot of people will know that Carole actually left school at 16. She went to Lewis County Grammar School for Girls. I hope I get this right. But she left school at 16 and went into clerical jobs and so on, and in fact came into back into higher education via Ruskin College. And I was Director of Lifelong Learning for innumerable years at the University of Leicester, and it's music to my ears to hear of people coming in different routes rather than the traditional route, and making such a fantastic success of it. I don't know who was in the class that Carole was in at Ruskin, other than John Prescott, John Jags Prescott, as he's known in the trade. And I also don't know what Carole made of John Prescott. But I think you kept in touch with him, is that?
Well, not entirely.
Well, very
I saw him most recently in Cardiff. He came, this would be somewhere between 06 and 08 when I was there. He just published his autobiography, and he came to that, and I went along.
But he's now, of course, this isn't a speech about him, but he is now in the House of Lords and very active, and livening the place up. I'm sure he livened Ruskin.
Oh, yes.
But after that, Carole then stayed at Oxford, read PPE, a degree that I think gets mixed reviews, partly because most of the present cabinet, or a lot of the present cabinet in Britain, read PPE at Oxford. Well, I think Osborne did, and Nick Cameron, and I think probably Boris, various other characters. So, but not everybody goes the way they thought. So Carole read PPE, did her DPhil, and then she went and taught in Australia, taught in Europe, and of course has been employed for quite a long time here in the United States. When you look at the list of books, and I've actually got them here, I thought I'd better just, refresh my memory. It's pages and pages of books and publications on, well, how does one characterise it? On democratic theory, political obligation, different feminist interpretations of different aspects of contemporary life, marriage, society, welfare. There's some empirical work as well as the political theory. There's a recent book that is here. There are flyers available. This is available for all good bookshops, including the exhibition, the Routledge, isn't it? Yeah. The Routledge, which is edited by Carole Pateman and Samuel Chambers, on democracy, feminism and welfare, which those three words characterise really a lot of Carole's work. But it's also the practical contribution that Carole's made. And again, it's fairly breathtaking. She was the first woman president of APSA, 1991 to 94. President of APSA 2010 to 11. And a multitude of awards, including the Johann Schuschetske. It's me doing my Rowan Atkinson impression. When you encounter a word, you're not quite sure. I think it's shooter. Somebody told me it was shitting shite. But the Johann Schuster Prize, which is the leading prize, probably, certainly one of the leading prizes, awarded for outstanding contribution to the discipline. And she also has actually received a PSA award before, in 2004, for lifetime achievement in political studies. And I did look at the citations. For the PSA award, the citation was, the award was for the breadth and depth of her contribution to the intellectual development of political studies, coupled with her work within the profession. And for the Shooter Award, it described her as a political philosopher on the side of the downtrodden. I think that award citation's rather better. Well, we're now giving another award to Carole. We do this very, very rarely. I wanted to just tell you about the impact that Carole's had on me, which goes right back to Warwick University in the early 1970s. I can see a fellow alumnus here, another recipient of the Shooter Prize, Pippa Norris. We were at Warwick together in the early 1970s. And I remember then as a rather idealistic young chap. You okay? I thought it was something I'd said. I remember as a rather idealistic young student reading an article by a chap called Maurice Jones called In Defence of Apathy. I don't know if you remember. Oh, it's in the bibliography. But I remember reading this and getting very cross at Maurice Jones defending apathy. And it was, once I was a postgraduate student, that I stumbled on this book called Participation and Democratic Theory by someone called Carole Pateman. And I thought, this is a breath of fresh air. This counteracts this highly cynical view about politics and action. Because this book, here it is arguing for that democracy can only really exist once one facilitates genuine participation. And this book here is the book that I bought as an MA student at Warwick. It's actually got the date in here, October 1976. And I found it in the office last week, and it does have an awful lot of comments and underlining. So I was quite relieved. I haven't done this on the plane and little did I know then that one day I would have the honour of not just meeting Carole, which I've done on a lot of occasions now, but of actually presenting you with an award on behalf of the Political Studies Association. And I'm going to, in a minute, before you rush off to your next meeting, ask you to sign this copy of 1973, so that I can pass this on to my my granddaughter, who is expected next month. So without further ado, Carole, it's a great honour to present you on behalf of Political Studies Association. We do slightly want to claim you as our own, although you are international. So, thank you very much indeed.
I've been a member of the association, I can't remember, years and years and years, so I am one of your own. And, yeah, I mean, I also, well, I should say, I have to confess, I was hugely pleased to get the Shooter Award, because, as Pippa knows, you know, they make a big thing of it. And
even
so,
bigger than that.
That was a tremendous honour to get that. Yeah, you mentioned how I began. I mean, well, it is rather improbable, actually, that I should actually be here. Because actually, my parents left school at 40. As you said, I left at 60. And, but, you know, I went to my little village school, which had nothing. Yeah, my mother had actually taught me to read before I went there. But, you know, we all learned our tables and we learned how to add up and subtract and do all that kind of thing. But without, I mean, all this fancy stuff they have now, I mean, half of them leave school, they can't read and write. And, you know, we had absolutely nothing. But, you know, we all learned the basics. And, so, yeah, and I've only ever met one other person who was actually at Oxford, went to Oxford without any A-levels. I mean, there may be more of them around, but I've only ever come across that one person. So it is really a very long way from that little Sussex village to being here. A very long way. I'm not quite sure how it all happened. I mean, it all started just sheer chance and happenstance. And somehow, I don't know, all those decades disappeared and here I am. With my second award, studies. So thank you all so much.